There are places on Earth where the ground itself remembers. Beneath the pine forests and the cotton fields of northeastern Louisiana lies something impossible, something that shouldn't exist, according to everything we thought we knew about ancient North America. 6 massive rings of Earth, perfectly concentric, perfectly aligned, covering an area larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza's base. Built 3,500 years ago by people who weren't supposed to build cities at all. No pyramids rose here, no palaces, no temples to forgotten gods. And yet, for 6 centuries, this was one of the greatest construction projects the ancient world had ever seen. The people who built this had no metal tools, no wheels, no draft animals, no written language, no kings. They moved 30 million baskets of earth. They created geometric precision that rivals the architects of Stonehenge. They built a city designed to hold thousands. And then they vanished. This is the story of Poverty Point, the most mysterious monument in North America and the people history forgot. The Mississippi River Basin has always been a place of abundance. Even today, its floodplains teem with life. Fish crowd the waterways. Deer move through bottomland forests. Migratory birds darken the skies each autumn in numbers that defy counting. 3,500 years ago, this abundance was even greater. The climate was warmer, the rivers wider, game was everywhere. And in this paradise, along Bayou Macon in what is now northeastern Louisiana, something extraordinary happened. Around 1700 BCE, people began to gather, not to farm, not to build temples to priest kings, but to create something the world had never seen. A geometric wonder that would challenge every assumption about what hunter-gatherers could achieve. For thousands of years, this place remained hidden. Settlers who farmed these lands in the 1800s noticed the strange ridges, but thought little of them. Natural formations, perhaps, or old field boundaries. It wasn't until the 1950s, when archaeologists flew over the site in small aircraft, that the truth became undeniable. From the air, the pattern emerged. 6 concentric semicircular ridges, each separated by shallow swales, perfectly geometric, perfectly intentional, and absolutely massive. The site covers 400 acres. The ridges themselves stretch over 3/4 of a mile across. At the western edge rises Mound A, an earthen pyramid 20 meters high, shaped like a massive bird in flight when viewed from above. To the north and south, smaller mounds punctuate the landscape. The entire complex is oriented with astronomical precision. The aisles between ridges, straight as arrows, radiate outward from a central plaza, like the spokes of a vast wheel. But what stunned archaeologists wasn't just the geometry, it was the age. Radiocarbon dating revealed the truth. Poverty Point was built between 1700 and 1100 BCE. That makes it roughly contemporary with Stonehenge final phases. It predates the rise of the Olmec civilization in Mexico. It was already ancient when Rome was founded. And the people who built it? They were hunter-gatherers. They didn't plant crops. They didn't herd animals. They didn't have centralized government or hereditary chiefs. Everything we thought we knew about the rise of complex societies said this was impossible. Yet here it stands, undeniable, impossible, and deeply, profoundly mysterious. Imagine standing here in 1500 BC. The ridges aren't covered in forest. They're terraced platforms, each one crowded with structures. Pole and thatch homes line the curved streets. Smoke rises from hundreds of hearths. The plaza thrums with activity. Thousands of people call this place home, at least seasonally. They come from hundreds of miles away. We know this because of what they left behind. The artifacts at Poverty Point tell a story of vast networks and incredible skill. Stone tools made from materials that originated 600 miles away in the Ohio River Valley, copper from the Great Lakes region, soapstone from the Appalachian Mountains, galena from Missouri and Illinois. These weren't chance acquisitions. This was systematic trade on a scale that shouldn't have existed in a hunter-gatherer society. Raw materials moved along ancient rivers and footpaths, passing through countless hands before arriving here. But perhaps the most distinctive artifacts are the simplest. Poverty Point objects. Tens of thousands of them. Small balls and cylinders of baked clay, each shaped by hand. These weren't decorative, they were practical. Heated in fires, and then dropped into containers to boil water, cook food, steam shellfish. Each one was individually crafted. Each one was used and discarded. Archaeologists have found them by the thousands, evidence of daily life, daily meals, daily routines that stretched across centuries. But the ridges are what defy explanation. Each ridge is between 1 and 2 meters tall. They stretch in perfect arcs, maintaining their geometry across hundreds of meters. The basket loads of soil that created them? Estimates suggest 30 to 35 million individual loads, perhaps more. No wheels, no carts, no horses or oxen. Every single basket was carried by human hands. The soil was dug with stone and wooden tools, loaded into woven containers, hauled to the ridges, and carefully placed to maintain the geometric precision. Soil analysis reveals they didn't just pile earth randomly. The ridges were engineered. Different types of soil were used in different layers. Clay to prevent erosion, sand for drainage. Careful, deliberate construction that required planning, coordination, and an understanding of engineering principles. This wasn't built in a year or 10 years. This was generations of work, lifetimes of effort. Children who began carrying baskets grew old and died before the work was complete. Their grandchildren continued. And here's what makes it truly baffling. There's no evidence of coercion. No palaces for elites. No royal tombs. No temples demanding tribute to angry gods. The houses on the ridges show no hierarchy. No one lived in luxury while others suffered. So why? Why would thousands of people across generations devote their lives to moving 30 million baskets of earth? What drove them? What did they believe? What did this place mean? We don't know, and that absence of answers is perhaps the most haunting thing of all. Mound 8 dominates the western edge of the complex. 20 meters tall, 72 meters long, and when viewed from directly above, it reveals its secret. It's shaped like a bird in flight, wings outstretched, oriented precisely north to south. Was this intentional? Almost certainly. But why a bird? What did it represent? We can guess. The thunderbird appears in the mythology of dozens of Native American cultures across the continent. A creature of the sky, a bringer of storms, a connection between Earth and the celestial realm. From the top of Mound A, the entire site spreads before you. The 6 ridges arc away to the east. The central plaza opens like a vast stage, and on certain days, certain moments in the year, the geometry reveals itself. The aisles between the ridges aren't random. They align with the solstices. During the summer solstice, sunrise, light floods straight down the northern aisles. During the winter solstice, it traces the southern paths. The entire site functions as a calendar, a clock, a connection to the cosmos. This isn't unique to Poverty Point. Stonehenge tracks the solstices. Newgrange, in Ireland, frames the winter solstice sunrise. Chaco Canyon's architecture encodes the movements of the sun and moon. Ancient peoples everywhere looked to the sky for meaning, for guidance, for connection to something greater. But Poverty Point goes further. The ridges themselves may encode sophisticated mathematical relationships. Some researchers suggest they reflect knowledge of geometry that wouldn't appear in the written record for thousands of years. Perfect circles, careful ratios, proportions that echo the golden mean. And then there's the question of why here. This wasn't a defensive position, no walls protected it, no strategic hilltop advantage. The location was chosen for other reasons: access to waterways, proximity to diverse environments, but also, perhaps, because this place meant something, because it was sacred, because it was where the earth spoke to the sky. The bayous and rivers that surround the site form a network connecting Poverty Point to the wider world. Canoes could travel from here to the Gulf of Mexico, to the Mississippi, to countless tributaries stretching across the continent. This was a crossroads, a meeting place, a hub. Perhaps people came here for ceremonies, for trade, for marriage alliances that bound distant communities together. Perhaps they came for the solstices, gathering by the thousands to watch the sun rise perfectly aligned with the earthworks their grandparents had built. The artifact record supports this. The sheer diversity of materials from distant sources suggests Poverty Point wasn't isolated. It was central, connected, important. A place people traveled, brought gifts, invested their labor in. Consider Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built around 9000 BCE by hunter-gatherers who carved massive stone pillars and arranged them in circles. For decades, it defied explanation. Why would mobile people build monuments? The answer, archaeologists now believe, is that the monuments came first, the settlements followed. The need to maintain and use these sacred spaces led to the development of permanent communities. Or look at Cahokia, built 3,000 years after Poverty Point along the Mississippi River near modern St. Louis. At its peak around 1050 CE, it was home to 20,000 people. It featured massive earthen pyramids, including Monk's Mound, the largest prehistoric structure north of Mexico. It was a true city, with social hierarchies, specialized labor, and political complexity. Poverty Point sits between these extremes, more complex than Göbekli Tepe, but less hierarchical than Cahokia. It suggests that the path to civilization isn't a straight line, that human societies have always experimented, always adapted, always created solutions unique to their environment and beliefs. But unlike Göbekli Tepe, buried and forgotten, or Cahokia, abandoned but never lost to memory, Poverty Point's builders left no descendants who remembered. No oral histories survived to explain the ridges, no legends told of the bird mound. The knowledge was lost, the purpose forgotten. And so we're left with questions, beautiful, haunting questions that the earth refuses to answer. Around 1100 BC, something changed. The fires on the ridges went out, the people left. Slowly at first, perhaps a few families one season, more the next. Within a generation or two, the great geometric city stood empty. Archaeologists can see it in the stratigraphy, the layers of soil that mark human activity suddenly thin. The distinctive Poverty Point objects become rare, then absent. The hearths go cold, the refuse pits stop filling. But why? What happened? Climate change is one theory. Around this time, a cooling period began affecting the region. Rivers shifted course. Resources became less predictable. The abundance that had drawn people here may have diminished. Or perhaps the very success of Poverty Point was its undoing. Thousands of people gathering in one place, even seasonally, puts pressure on resources. Game populations decline. Nut-bearing trees get harvested too heavily. The land can't sustain the numbers anymore. Social theories offer another possibility. Maybe the belief system that justified this massive undertaking faded. Maybe new ideas, new spiritual practices made the old ways seem less important. Maybe the death of a charismatic leader or the failure of a prophesied event shattered the consensus that held everything together. We see this pattern in other ancient societies. Chaco Canyon was abandoned when drought struck. Angkor Wat declined when trade routes shifted. The Maya cities of the Yucatan collapsed under the weight of warfare and environmental stress. Even Cahokia, the great city of the Mississippi, was empty by 1400 CE, centuries before European contact. But with Poverty Point, we lack the written records or oral histories that might explain. The people simply left. They dispersed into the broader landscape, rejoining smaller communities, continuing their lives as mobile hunter-gatherers. The ridges slowly eroded. Vegetation took root. The bird mound weathered under rain and wind. For 3,000 years, Poverty Point slept. Trees grew on the ridges. Animals made dens in the mounds. The rivers shifted course around it. And slowly, very slowly, the memory faded. By the time European colonizers arrived in Louisiana, no one remembered. The Native American peoples of the region had their own histories, their own sacred places. Poverty Point was just old ridges in the woods. Interesting, perhaps, but not connected to anyone's living tradition. American settlers in the 1800s saw the earthworks and shrugged. Some thought they were natural. Others assumed they were crude fortifications from some forgotten conflict. A few recognized them as artificial, but had no context to understand their age or significance. It took the invention of aerial photography to reveal the truth. Suddenly, from above, the geometry became undeniable. The precision, the scale, the astronomical alignments. This wasn't a curiosity. This was one of the most significant archaeological sites in North America. Today, Poverty Point is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Archaeologists continue to study it, using ground-penetrating radar, soil chemistry analysis, and computer modeling to understand its construction and use. Each season brings new discoveries. Each analysis refines our understanding. But even with all our tools, all our scientific methods, the deepest questions remain. Not just how it was built, but why. Not just when people left, but what they believed while they were here. Not just the mechanics of construction, but the dream that inspired it. Poverty Point stands as a monument to human ambition, to our capacity for cooperation, to our need for meaning beyond mere survival. These people didn't build this because they had to. They built it because it mattered, because it meant something profound that we can now only guess at. The same stars that guided the builders of Poverty Point shine down on us tonight. The same sun that rose through their carefully aligned aisles rises for us each morning. We are separated by 3,500 years, but we share the same sky. We like to think we understand the past. We create narratives. We fill in the gaps with theories and models. We imagine we know how ancient people thought, what drove them, what their lives were like. But places like Poverty Point remind us how much we don't know, how much has been lost. The songs they sang while carrying those baskets, the stories they told about the bird mound, the ceremonies that brought thousands together in the plaza, the prayers offered at solstice, dawn. All gone, all silent. And yet, something remains. The earth itself remembers. These ridges, These mounds, these geometric patterns pressed into the landscape, are a language we can still read, if imperfectly. They tell us that humans have always been capable of greatness, that we've always looked beyond immediate survival towards something transcendent. Poverty Point forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about ancient North America. This continent wasn't empty before Europeans arrived. It wasn't primitive. It wasn't waiting for civilization to arrive from elsewhere. It had its own civilizations, its own monuments, its own achievements that rivaled anything built anywhere in the world. Stonehenge draws millions of visitors each year. The pyramids of Egypt are iconic symbols of human achievement. Machu Picchu represents the pinnacle of Inca engineering. But Poverty Point, in its own way, is equally remarkable, perhaps more so, because it emerged from a society that wasn't supposed to be capable of such things. The people who built this didn't have metal, didn't have writing, didn't have kings or priests demanding tribute. What they had was vision, community, cooperation, and a belief that this place, this geometric wonder carved into the earth, was worth generations of labor. We don't know their names. We don't know their language. We don't know the word they used for this place, or what they believed about the bird that flies eternally above their ridges. But we know they were here. We know they dreamed. We know they built. And in the end, perhaps that's enough. Perhaps the mystery is part of the meaning. Perhaps not knowing forces us to imagine, to wonder, to recognize that human history is deeper and stranger and more magnificent than any textbook can capture. Poverty Point stands silent in the Louisiana wilderness, waiting, watching, remembering, a testament to forgotten brilliance, a monument to the impossible, a reminder that our ancestors were never primitive, never simple, never less than us. They were builders, dreamers, architects of wonder, and their greatest creation, carved in earth and aligned with stars, endures. This is Poverty Point, the geometric city that shouldn't exist, built by people without kings, without writing, without metal, built by human hands, human vision, human spirit, built to last forever. And it has.